Okay, so once again, hello everyone, and welcome to the 5 essential steps to stop dating the wrong type of man so you can attract your Mr. Right. Again, this is just one of the one of the master classes that I hold about 3 times a year, and this has a 5-part series. Tonight we're going to be talking about identifying your blind spots, and I'll introduce myself a little bit more in a few moments. But for those who are not familiar with me, my name is Camille Sheppard-Parrish. And I am known in this dating industry as the healthy love coach. And it is my pleasure and honor to be here. So I already did my sound check. So as far as I could tell, everyone could hear me. And so I'm going to jump right into our session. Tonight, our session is discussing identifying your blind spots. Okay, when I work with women, one of the first things I notice is that there are several blind spots that women have. We're going to talk about quite a few, but more importantly, more important than diving into each type of different blind spot, I'm going to show you how to identify your blind spot. It's not super easy to do, but I'm going to guide you tonight. And then for those who want to learn more, feel free to reach out to me so that I can work with you in a one-on-one setting so that we could go deeper and make sure you are identifying your blind spots and you get the gist of what I'm talking about. And I want to just say that it is my absolute pleasure and my honor to have you join me for this 5-part master class series. Again, it's entitled 5 Essential Steps to Stop Dating the Wrong Type of Man so that you can attract your Mr. Right. And that's what we're going to be focusing on tonight. And I appreciate you investing your time. And I also want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the faith that you have in me to allow me to share this information with you, to really enhance your ability to get your Mr. Right. Because I really want to help you level up. I want you to have success in your life and especially in your romantic relationships. So again, thank you so much for really coming on board today. I'm so proud of each and every one of you for all that you do in my community. And again, for spending your Sunday evening with me so we can talk about this, right? Because it is an epidemic. It's not just in the United States, it's all over the world. I work with women internationally, and I can tell you that I see this all over the world. And I truly have felt your energy and your enthusiasm about this session. I had to actually upgrade my webinar participant count because I had so many people registering for this particular session. So I'm so excited about that. No worries on that, but it just shows me that there's a lot of interest in this particular topic and we're on the right path. And believe me, I've read all your emails and your juicy love notes and everything you've sent me. So I really enjoyed them. Keep them coming. You really help me, and it's because many of you have responded to my surveys and sent me an email to really let me know what you were looking for, that I was able to really bring this type of course to you for absolutely free. And so I always say, ask and it shall be given, right? Seek and you shall find. So it's really exciting to see so many people on this call that really want to get into radical action and become unconditional about getting your Mr. Right. And so if we are meeting for the first time, I want you to know that my name is Camille Sheppard-Parrish, okay? So some of you are in my community, you might know quite a bit about me, and those who are new, I am the author of Successful Women Date Differently, Secrets to Attracting the Love That You Deserve. And I'm also the founder of Get Mr. Right University. And what we do is serve women all over the world, and I help them fulfill their desires to attract the love that they really want. And I really help them, and I show them and teach them how to keep the love that they deserve. Not just with any man, because I do believe that we as women, we can go attract any man. We can attract the bum off the street. We can attract any man if we really want to, right? But we want to attract a high quality, loving, relationship ready man. And we've come to call him a grown man, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about. I've been featured on a lot of different platforms. I write for a lot of different platforms, for Huffington Post, Your Tango. I used to have my own radio show and TV show. We're working on getting it going again. I'm the president of National Association of Professional Women for the Chesapeake, Virginia area. And I just write for several platforms. I have my PhD in IT, and I'm a certified life coach and relationship coach. And it's, again, my honor to be here. Through the university, I've helped so many single, smart, successful women and spiritual women. I've really helped them try to get their Mr. Right. I don't use fluff and stuff. So I don't really believe in just, giving you a lot of fluff and keep stringing you on. I really like to go to the heart of the matter. And so the women that I work with, they've gone from feeling hopeless, frustrated, giving up on love, to feeling super empowered and being attracted to men, and being in attracting more men that they really are interested in. And when they attract these men, I really work hard with them so that we ensure that these men are truly aligned with their core purpose. For example, Samantha is one of my clients, and I'm not going to read each and every one of these comments, but she's enjoyed working with me, and she learned that she had to really stop wasting her time dating the wrong type of men, and that constantly hurt her feeling, right? And what we found out is that she was truly living inside of her masculine energy and leading with her masculine energy. And once I helped her do that, she was off and running and able. She's a beautiful woman, and after that, she was able to attract the man that she truly wanted. And Jackie, she said that that I was very intuitive in working with her, and I am. Usually when I work with women, within the first 30 minutes, I can tell you what your love blocks are, and I can really hone into the places where you need to work on inside of yourself. Okay, you're going to hear me talk about this a little bit more tonight, but a lot of times we tend to look outside of ourselves for the problem, but really we have to really do the work on ourselves so that we can improve our vibration, so we can truly understand how to connect and attract the man that we truly want. Miko is another one of my clients that I worked on, and of course she said that this was the best decision ever. She learned to stop being so needy, and she learned to really take control of her love life, and now she is the CLO of her love life. Some of you may have heard me say this in the past, but that simply means the chief love officer of your life. I come from corporate America, so I had to put us in the C-suite. So, I really do want you to be able to make the executive decisions about your love life and not feel like you're, helpless, or you're desperate, or you're not in control of who you allow into your heart space. And then we have Denise. So if any of you are on social media or own your own business, or if you have heard of Steve Harvey or Lisa Nichols or any of those big names, Denise Hart, she is their coach. She works with them in their marketing piece of their business. And she's the reason why I've had the opportunity to support Steve Harvey in some of his events, and work with Lisa Nichols as well. And so it was a very huge honor to have her as one of my clients. And she, same thing, she had some issues that she needed to work through. And she finally found out why she was still single. We did a lot of journaling. I helped her to identify her love blocks and do her inner work. And she changed her mindset. And she really learned to let go of the past. And that allowed her to be more open and vulnerable. Being such a powerful woman as Denise is, this was something that really kind of set her free. And if any of you see Denise on social media, you'll hear her tell her story. And it is one that's super amazing. So again, welcome. Here's our agenda for tonight. We're going to be discussing again how to stop dating the wrong type of man. And of course, we want to get our Mr. Right. That's what tonight is all about. And so session 1 is tonight. We're going to be talking about identifying your blind spots. And these blind spots are things that are causing you to attract the same wrong type of man over and over again, right? And we're going to dive deep into that tonight. So if you don't have a paper and pen, while I'm still doing some of the intro, just for this screen and maybe the next, you might want to just reach and grab a paper and pen. If you've received the workbook or worksheet that I sent you today, please make sure you at least open it up or print it, because we definitely will be using it. And I hope that you find it super beneficial. I will try to make a worksheet for each and every one of these sessions, but we are going to have a session for the next 5 days. don't worry if you can't jump on time or when I'm having the session. There will be a replay, but of course it's better if you jump on because you can get your questions asked. But I'm going to make my best attempt to have a replay for each and every one of these days. I can't totally promise, but I'm definitely going to try to make that happen for each day. Okay, so try to get on. If you can't, no worries. I'll try to get you the replay. Session 2, we're going to talk about how to break the cycle of dating the wrong type of men. Session 3, how to attract a high quality man. The one that, one that's going to commit to you. I want you to attract a relationship ready man, not just men that are going to waste your time, that are going to just play games or that are in other relationships. You want to attract a man that is free and clear for you to marry, if that's what you desire to do. And I want to help you do that. So we're going to do that on day number 3. Day number 4, we're going to talk about your masculine energy, right? This is really the crux of the matter. So many of us are super successful. We're powerful. We're strong. Some of us have been single moms. Some of us have been raised by a single mom. Some of us don't have our dads in our life. Some of us have just had to take care of ourselves for a super long time, and we have a ton of masculine energy. But stay tuned for this day because you're going to really discover why masculine energy literally repel relationship ready men. Okay, so I'm going to go deep on that topic as well. And then day number 5, I'm going to show you how to put this all together in a proven system. And for those who want to go further and work deeper and do their inner work and really ensure that they make this their year of love, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. And then day number 6, it is kind of a bonus day. It will be solely a Q&A day. So if you can join for that day, that will be a super good day to be on live because I'm going to take questions live for that whole session. And I will coach whoever asks me a question on the phone or on this conference line. And I will coach you and I will give you an answer. And I'm going to shoot from the hip and I'm going to really help you so that you can take your relationship to the next level. So once again, I hope you can tell I am so freaking excited about this series. I love teaching and coaching women from all around the world. It really gives me the opportunity to do what I want. As I mentioned before, I was in corporate America for many, many years as an executive in the healthcare IT industry. I managed team of IT folks. Every now and then I do go in and I consult and I help hospitals open up other hospitals or, upgrade their systems. But those are very special projects when I go in to do that, when they can't find someone with the skill set that I have. But I am so happy that I'm enjoying what I love to do now. And I'm going to teach some of you about that a little bit later, about really living in your purpose. It's very important when we talk about being happy and attracting the things in life that you really want. And one of the ways you do that is making sure that you are doing what you want in life and not just doing what someone else want you to do. It's no fun going someplace every day where you don't enjoy being. You can't be a happy person. And let me tell you, you definitely won't be attracting a ton of men if you're unhappy about your life. So again, we'll get into that topic a little bit later, but I'm so happy to say that I work really hard, but I love what I do. So, and it's all thanks to you. Thank you. And so I really love helping women with their love and relationships. And the reason why is because love and relationships can be our greatest joy, as you can see from the woman, on the left. I'm not really sure how it appears to you in the colorful top. Or it can be our greatest pain, right? So we can have a lot of fun or we can have a lot of distress about our relationships. And I really love working with women because it really helps them, solve the problems in the area of their life that they have the greatest problems. And so most of the women that I coach, they have experienced a ton of these feelings. They don't feel worthy. Some of them have not been able to, some of them have lacked the confidence that they should have. And it's because they've been mistreated in their life, right? A lot of them have masculine energy. Again, I talked about the powerful, successful woman. That's a lot of us today, right? Some women have been abandoned, right? Their fathers have left home, their mothers have left home, or they both have given them up for adoption, or just just abandon them, right? Or parents get divorced. You know, sometimes we don't realize how devastating that is to children. It truly is, right? And it does have lifelong effects on them. Also, I work with women who have had parents who are addicted to some type of substance, right? Or perhaps they're in jail, right? All of those things cause painful, emotional problems for us, right? And so I help them to really identify those things and break free from those things. Also, some women that I work with, they've been physically abused and emotionally abused. And this is really a special area of mine, because you'll learn a little bit as we go along, that those folks in that category are super near and dear to my heart because of my own past experience that I'll share with you. And then some women are just simply struggling to let go of the past lovers, past relationships, and things like that, right? And what happens, what I find, what I've been noticing, again, as I mentioned, I've been in academia for a long time, and I've got my PhD, so I've learned a lot about studying and statistics and doing research. And one of the things that I've found is that the women that have these individual issues, and then you can add to this list as well, right? I'm sure you have your own individual story. What I find is that when you have these things, you know, going on in your life, you tend to attract the same type of guy, and he's usually the wrong type of guy over and over and over again. And so these guys bring us tons of heartache and pain. So welcome to my community. So if any of this stuff sounds familiar to you, I want you to know that you're definitely in the right place. I mean, this is a true community. This is, I mean, I know there's a ton of coaches, especially in the relationship and business arena, that are out there. And it's really hard to weed through who's going to give you true, honest, authentic information, and then who's pulling the wool over your eye. But I want you to know, and you're going to see from tonight clearly, that you are in the right place, and you're going to find out that I'm the real deal. I don't do fluff and stuff. I give you real information. I do manage, I have a business side where I help women launch their business empire. That's actually the name of the business. It's Launch Your Business Empire, where I take women through a 6-week program to help them start their own business. But this is really my biggest passion. And so if you're frustrated with dating, with the dating games that men play, or if you're tired of, you know, spying on guys that you're dating, trying to figure out what's going on, kept trying to catch them and, you know, figure out if they're telling the truth or a lie, hiring a detective, you know, or, you know, listening to them make all of these excuses, you know, if you're falling for men who are convinced that, convince you that you're their main chick, and then later on you find out that he's married, or maybe you're his side chick, or maybe he has another girlfriend, right? You know, if you're tired of that type of stuff, we're going to be dealing with that. And I know some women have been telling me, this is a good one, that they're really pissed off and they're ready to give up because they're tired of settling for mediocrity and the crap that they have to settle for with grown men that are supposed to be adults and mature, but they're not because they act like boys, right? So if you're with guys who have the inability to commit, right, you're going to find this information helpful to you as well, right? And a lot of times guys don't want to commit. They want you to commit to them, but they don't want to commit to you. They want you to be available for him or them when they need you, or when they want to come over, or when they want a booty call or something like that. But when you need them, or you want them to come over to see your family or friends or celebrate with you, they always got something coming up. So we're going to talk about that. I've been hearing women saying that they're tired of taking him back over and over again and accepting his stupid apologies, right? And you know, but sometimes our hearts are so involved, right? Because of the oxytocin and the dopamine running rampant in our bodies, right? We're just so connected to this guy. So if you're feeling stuck and afraid of being alone and lonely, and so you continue to stay, again, you're gonna love this session, right? And for any of you who ever wonder, is it him or is it me, right? They had a little TV show talking about that for a little while, right? Is it him or you, right? And so we're gonna talk about that as well. Again, my intention is to help you create your breakthrough. And so I'm hoping that this series will, to really help you look at relationships a little bit different, right? So I hope you opened your mind up tonight to looking at things in a different way, because my teaching style is a little bit different. Again, I don't use fluff and stuff. I don't try to string you on forever before I give you the information that you need to make serious change and impact in your life. I like you to get some immediate results as soon as possible, right? And that soon as possible depends on each and every person, right? Depends on your personality, depends on the action, the commitment that you have to this whole process. So for those who are super committed to change, you're gonna find that you're moving along in this process a lot faster. And for those who are a little more slower, or maybe not as committed, or maybe you're super hurt and you're still trying to figure out why should you even try or do any work anyway because of the way guys are acting nowadays. I understand that, but please understand, if your commitment is not high, your results will be low. Okay, so I hope that you are ready to do something different, right, and take the necessary action that's required to really make the shifts. And we do need to make shifts, and you'll see why in a little bit, so that you can attract the love that you deserve. I always hear women say, why do I have to do all the work? How come he doesn't do the work? And he's the one that has the problem. Men are the one that are cheating and using women. Well, I'm going to tell you straight out, the reason why we need to do the work is because we need to clear our blocks so that we can make better decisions and feel empowered to selecting the appropriate guy. So guys are the ones that really decide if they want to come and approach us and have us be his woman, but we have veto right. We have the right to say yes or no. It goes back to what I think Nico said about being a chief love officer of her life. You have the right to make the executive decision on who you're going to date and marry, and who you're going to give your body to. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. And that's why I focus so much on women, because I want you to take control of your personal circumstances, right? And that will be the only way that your romantic relationships will get better. So we're going to get into creating the shifts that's going to help you create the relationship you want, and not just the relationship, but the life that you truly deserve. And again, I started out, for those who are familiar with my book, I started out with this big question: why do so many beautiful, successful women continue to select the wrong type of men over and over again? And even when this dude tries to break up with us, right, we throw ourselves at him. We beg him to stay. We try to figure out, what we need to change, right? Whether it's more sex, more giving, more loving, more availability, more smiles, more sexiness, right? Some of us have, done some physical works, surgical work to our bodies to really change the shape, right? To ensure that, we have that look, flat tummy, nice wide hips, that are appealing to men, right? There's a reason why women are getting those kind of hourglass surgeries, and it's a reason why it's appealing to men. I actually wrote about that in my book before a lot of these surgeries became super popular. So if you do have my book, Successful Women Date Differently, Secrets to Attracting the Love That You Deserve, you'll find that I do write about why that type of hourglass figure is really appealing to men. But I went on my own hunt. I was really trying to figure out, I was married to a guy for 17 years, and then we got divorced. And I was trying to figure out, after my divorce, why couldn't I find the love that I deserved? I didn't know if it was me, if it was him. And on top of that, I had been married for 17 years. I didn't know what in the world had happened to the dating world. All I knew is that it wasn't the same, right? Years ago, 17 years, and maybe even plus, back, I remember that you can go out to dinner, you can go to a bar, guy sends you a drink, he pays for it, he asks you out to dinner, you introduce him to your family, and in a couple of months you were married or planning to get married, right? Nowadays, it's just not like that. It's so different. And so I became obsessed with the differences in the dating world, and I became obsessed with the type of women that men are attracted to, and what causes them to really decide if they wanted to marry a woman. And then I also became obsessed with, how come we as beautiful, successful, smart women don't know how to select the right guy. And we continue to select the wrong type of guy over and over again. And with my book, you'll notice that I came up with, successful women date differently, the secrets to attracting the love that you deserve. And that book summarizes a lot of the research and study that I've done to really support that topic and support some of the changes that we need to make. Some of them I'll touch on here. And then, the book is not really what's in this course tonight, but I do teach some of that in my other courses. And when we are with these guys and they're ready to break up with us, what are some of the things that you try to do with him, right? I know when I've been in a relationship with a guy, I know I've tried to emotionally seduce him, right? You want to say things like, I'm pregnant, or, don't leave me, or, you try to make him feel guilty, or you try to give him more, right? More sex, more of your time, more of your resources. And if he needs something, if he trying to get his business or life going, some of us try to invest in this guy and give him some money to help him out just so he'll stay with us, right? And we do all of that. What tripped me out when I started paying attention to that is that we do all of this for absolutely free, even though we have absolutely no promise of commitment from this guy, right? When he's done, he's done. He keeps it moving. He takes our heart, our money, everything, our years. I spent 17 years with this dude, right? I wish that I knew what I knew on the first year. But we're going to learn more about that, because I do want you to stop settling for breadcrumbs, because when we are with guys that don't treat us well, sometimes we're desperate. Again, as I mentioned, we're afraid of being alone, right? And we settle for the breadcrumbs. Although we know that he's probably out with another woman, he may have another life, we might be the other woman, the side chick, although he might be caring for us, right? Because nowadays, I don't want to throw shade at the side chick, because nowadays, she's making a good business being a side chick. He's buying her homes if he's well-to-do and have a lot of money. He's buying her a car. He's taking care of everything for her. So, but sometimes we settle for that because we are getting some of the financial things that we want, right? Or even if we're not the side chick, we're just afraid of being alone. Even if the guy's not giving us the affection and the love and the tenderness and the kindness and the support that we need, right? We're just afraid of being alone. And some of us, even if we're married or not, we may have children by these guys, right? Whether it was a mutual decision or whether we made the decision on our own. And sometimes we want to stay with him simply because he's the father of our child. I had one of those. I like to call him a sperm donor because sometimes he doesn't truly act like he's the father of my children, but I did try to stay 17 years simply for the children. So some of it may be professional reasons, especially if you've gotten into business ventures with this guy, right? So you might be staying with him because you're in business with him, and it's just a lot easier to stay with him than leave, right? Or at least still keep that relationship somewhat amicable. And then some of us, because of our family, friend, or religion, right? Even dating in some religions are super serious. And, if you continue to date and break up and date and break up, that can cause you to, have a lot of problems with your family, friends, or your religious organization. So there's so many reasons why we accept mediocrity, why we accept breadcrumbs and excuses from men. But this is the type of behavior we want to stop. We want to stop the hurt and stop the pain, stop the emotional bleeding. So we're going to be talking more about why have some women learned the art of attracting Mr. Right and keeping him, right? Some women have been married forever, right? While other successful women are still struggling to figure out how to even position themselves to attract the healthy relationship that they deserve, right? And we often find ourselves in this type of situation, right? And we want to be in a loving, kind relationship, but we constantly find ourselves, connecting with someone who's a liar or cheater, and we just get heartbroken behind it. So before we go deeper, I want to give you a moment to really kind of take some of what I'm saying in, and really give yourself permission to shift your understanding from the current way we do dating and attraction, because I have to be totally honest. It's not your mother's date, and it's not your grandmother's date. Life and things are just simply different. The end game is the same. We still want a good man. We want to get married. We want to have a beautiful life, our happily ever after with our Mr. Right, but the process has changed. People's thinking has changed, right? The internet is there. You know, guys, they don't have to settle for girls and women from their neighborhood anymore. They can meet a woman clear across the world. So if he met someone, you know, at the local bar or in his neighborhood or at a social event, or he was introduced by his family, he felt that, you know, he didn't have a whole lot of options. She's the best girl in town. But now he doesn't have to look at the best girl in town. He can look at the best girl across the world, right? So that's how the dating world has shifted. And we as women, we have the same right. So I want you to start to open up your mind a little bit to some of the things that I'm going to be teaching you in the next 5 days, and realize that things are different. And so if things are different, life is different, and what you're doing is causing you problem, if you continue to do the same thing the same way over and over again, it's not going to work for you, right? I think Einstein or someone said that that's insanity, right? So we're going to do something different. And that's why I named my book, Successful Women Date Differently, because I want to shake things up a little bit, and I want you to do something different. So if you don't mind, I'm going to be my normal self throughout this process. Sometimes I'll talk real fast and real high and real low. That's just me. And sometimes I'm going to go super deep. And sometimes I might say something that maybe you haven't even heard of before. And feel free to email me or inbox me on social media, Facebook or whatever, and just ask me. I'll have a link at the end of this session that you can schedule some time with me if you like, so that we can chat more about anything that you like about this session or about your own personal relationship, okay? So, but I want you to give yourself permission to adjust your lens, and then allow your heart to be open to learning something new, because you are going to learn something new. I'm not sure who I can hear, but if you can please put your phone on mute. Everyone should be on mute, but if you find that you're not, please go ahead and check and make sure your phone is muted, just for the recording, so that we can just have a nice quiet recording for the benefit of even you when you listen to the recording. I thank you and appreciate that. I want to teach you all how to be the woman that gets her Mr. Right, right? It breaks my heart when I see so many women getting their feelings hurt, right? Becoming, you know, sad and brokenhearted, and then they become so dejected that they don't want to try with anyone else. But I want you to know that, you know, if you do give me the space and allow me this opportunity to really share and stick with me for these 5 days of this training, I promise that you'll go from feeling like attracting the man that you deserve is impossible, to really understanding how simple it will be to become the woman who truly gets her Mr. Right. Not any man, your Mr. Right. Someone who will connect with you, who will be aligned with your core values. So we're going to be talking a lot about getting in alignment. Okay, I'm going to ask for permission to pause this session for 1 second, because I need to figure out where the noise is coming from. Okay. Sorry about that, but thank you. We are live, so things happen. Okay. So what I want you to know is that the first step to identifying your blind spots, which is what we're here to talk about tonight, this is session 1 of the 5 essential steps to stop dating the wrong type of man and attract your Mr. Right. And step number 1 is really, we're going to be talking about identifying your blind spots. We all have psychological blind spots, whether you know it or not, whether you heard of this term or not, they're there, right? So we can't change the truth of what's there, what's within us, right? And so the definition of a blind spot, for some of those who may not be familiar with it, it's an aspect of our psyche that, or our personality or habits or behaviors that might be obvious to others, but not to ourselves, right? And it's based on our experiences or our unlimited beliefs, or, you know, our unexamined, sometimes I like to say beliefs, because sometimes we've grown up believing things that may or may not be true, and we just never examine them, and we just go along believing them, right? Just think about little children, right? For the first few years, you know, they get taught lots of things. There's a tooth fairy, there's a Santa Claus. I just personally never wanted my children to believe that someone came out of the clear blue sky to give them gifts and money. I wanted them to know that I was giving them my hard-earned money, right? But those children don't really examine them because they believe what their parents are told or telling them. And so just think about some of the other things that our parents tell us, or that we learn throughout lives or in our community, and we just go on believing them to our adulthood, right? Sometimes we don't examine them. Some of the things are not that serious that they need to be examined, but we don't, right? We don't examine them. We just take them at face value because we were taught that, or everyone in our community or our religion, they believe that. So, and then they end up governing our attitude. And sometimes, depending on what it is, it could distort our view, right? So that's why the blind spots are super, super important to identify. And so you might be wondering, do you have blind spots, right? And if so, what are they? That's why we're here tonight, right? So you see the little girl in the mirror, in the rearview mirror, that should give you a big clue of where your blind spots are. So we're going to get deeper into that, right? And so sometimes, although we have been trained not to talk about the stuff that goes on at home, not to talk about the skeletons in the closet, not to talk about money or politics, right? Or religion or sex out in public, we've been trained, right? That's one of those kind of things that we were taught as kids, right? That we grow up believing that we shouldn't talk about those things. And so what happens for those of us who hold on to those beliefs, we never get help in those areas. So if we have a question about sex or money or men, right? Or if we have some kind of abuse or something going on at home, we never talk about it because we've been trained and conditioned not to talk about those things. But here's my challenge to you. If you don't talk about those things, if you don't talk about the skeletons in the closet, if you don't talk about the pain from your past, if you don't talk about the things that are hurting you, how do you fix them? And so when you wonder if you have blind spots, the answer is absolutely yes, you do have blind spots. However, identifying your own blind spots, it's an exercise in paradox, right? It's like an oxymoron, because if you're aware that you have a blind spot, right, it's not a blind spot, right? So most of us are not aware that we have blind spots. And when we learn about that particular blind spot, by the way, most of us have multiple blind spots. When we become aware of that one blind spot, it's not a blind spot anymore. If you choose to take action that will shift and change the behavior that's being produced by that blind spot, right? So, it's not visible, but we want it to become visible, right? And so I'm going to be teaching more about how to do that, right? And what makes it so difficult for us to see is that because our blind spots are similar to the wind, right? We can feel the wind. We can tell it's there. We can feel it even pushing or shoving us, right? I remember as a little girl being in a hurricane on my way home, walking from school, the hurricane started, right? And I was so tiny, it was just pushing me. I remember walking and holding on to the gates or fences as I walked along to get to my home, right? We can only see the effects, unless it's like has some rain or something in it, we can't really see it, or unless the temperature is such that we could see the frost from it, we don't usually see it, right? But it's there. And that's how our blind spots are. And although there are various instruments to measure the wind speed and direction, you do need tools to identify or determine what's going on with the wind, whether it's a hurricane or a tornado, or where it's going to occur and what's the speed, right? There are tools to do that, right? And there are also tools to identify your blind spot, believe it or not. And so one of the tools, I want you to make sure you have your pen and your paper so you can start taking notes or use the worksheet that I gave you. One of the hints about where our blind spots are, right? It's like the imprint that the wind leaves, right? Is that you can tell, if you ever been to the island, there's some trees that are bended over, and it's called alizés. I was so impressed by that. I named one of my sons, his middle name is Alizés. It was after the Alizés in the Caribbean. And the winds actually push the trees so much that they end up just being bent over for good. Right? And the winds that do that, that are that strong to do that, are called the alizés, right? And so we might not have been there or seen it or can see when it's happening, but because that wind happens over and over, hits over and over again against that tree, right? It really causes it to bend over. Right? And it's the same for us, right? We have these repetitive experiences that seem to happening to us, right? We often wonder, why is it happening to me, right? Or why is it happening to that tree? And we might not even be able to understand why. So, for example, if you're attracting a guy that constantly cheats, right? Think about the last guy that you dated. I'm going to invite you to think about the last 3 guys that you've dated or been married to. And I want you to think about what they had in common, right? That'll start giving you clues about where your blind spot is. Were they all cheaters? Because what I find is that a lot of times we date Joe over and over again. Joe is a liar and a cheater and the abuser. And we break up with Joe and we get with Mike, and Mike is just like Joe. He's still a liar, he's a cheater, and he's an abuser, right? The only thing changed was the name and the outward appearance, right? And then we go to I don't know, John, and he's still acting like Joe. Right? So think about the last 3 relationships you have and start thinking about the common denominator, right? Because a lot of times we say there are no good guys and all guys do this. But I want you to know that all guys don't do that. But you do need to start understanding, why are you attracting the same type of guy that lies or cheats or steals or abuses you or robs your bank account, or, he has a wife and you're the side chick, he keeps running that same story. So it's not that the guys are all bad. Men are men. Men are going to do what men are born to do. Men are born to really procreate. To be honest, most men, they get into relationships to have sex. They end up falling in love. We as women, we get in a relationship because we fall in love, but what do? We end up having sex, right? So what's going on? A lot of times we don't really understand, what our blind spots are because of the denial and fear, as I mentioned, that we've been trained to have, right? Don't go talk about that, or I'm going to discipline you in some way. Right? Or the denial, right? Our parents deny things and then we end up being in denial, right? But understanding our blind spots or what's blocking us can be rough if we are in denial of fear. And the reason why, and this is really interesting, right? It's why I'm so obsessed with this stuff, is that most people are able to perceive, right? We can tell something is wrong with this guy. Something doesn't feel quite right. Something is wrong. Something is out of alignment, because every time we end up in a relationship, what do we say? I knew it. Something was wrong, right? But what happens is when we're perceiving we refuse to believe it or allow the truth to be manifest, because we're just hoping that this situation will be different. We hope that this guy will be a good guy. But we have to really stop denying things, right? It isn't the inability to perceive the information that's really a problem, but we have the astonishing ability, as I was just talking about, to automatically perceive information while also automatically refusing it, right? And we refuse to allow it to enter our consciousness. So although we see it and we feel it and we think it, and we sometimes might have a little gut feeling about it, right? What happens is because we think that this guy is different. We want him to be different is really what it is, right? And we just don't pay attention to some of those things we call red flags, right? And we don't allow it into our consciousness, maybe because he is meeting some need, right, that we have. And then there's fear, right? So fear is the feeling of being induced or by or perceiving danger or threat, which is causing a change in the function of our body, right? So we know when we're afraid, right? Because we start changing the way we feel, the way we think about a situation. Our body, our chemistry, our reactions start changing, right? We might freeze, right? If we have to do something, if you have to go on a stage or speak in front of people, right? Fear takes over and maybe your voice goes. I know years ago when I had to speak in front of people, my voice would literally go. So, that was fear. It caused me to freeze, right? It can be a traumatic event, right? So, fear in human could really also occur because of something in the past, something in our present, or an anticipated future. But it's really important to really understand what you're afraid of, because it can truly block you from taking action. So for example, perhaps you were hurt in the past, right? You might be afraid of falling in love again because of the fear of getting hurt. So I hope that makes sense to you. So where does all of this come from, right? Where does this fear and denial come from? Where does all of this stuff come from? Well, it comes from our childhood wounds. And we learn, our belief system develops as children, right? So it's created by our parents, it's created by our experiences, and it really ends up defining how we move through life, right? And what ends up happening is that we create experiences that match our beliefs. Okay, so for example, if you believe that you're unlovable, not beautiful, not sexy, not worth it, not worthy, not valuable, not important, not beautiful, if you believe you're too fat or too skinny or too ugly or too, tall or too skinny, whatever you believe, you're almost going to always attract that into your life. It is called the law of attraction. So for those who are familiar with it, right, we end up creating those beliefs over and over again. So think about the beliefs that you have, because if you think about it, you probably can look back at your life and notice how often you've gone through that same experience over and over again, right? And if you don't believe me, think about how many times you say, "Dang, that happened to me again. Why do they always look at me? Why do they always stare at me? Every time I walk in a room, people are snickering. I know they're talking about me, right? They're talking behind my back." So when we start feeling like that, that's an indication that something from our childhood has wounded us, some experience or some belief that we've had, some unmet need, something's gone on in our life that's caused us to really have these feelings. And we always are in a situation where we have these same experiences over and over again. And so what do we have to do? We have to identify what those things are. Because if you don't identify the limited beliefs, you won't identify what's blocking you from the love that you deserve, right? So what I'm finding in my practice as I work with women is that many women have triggers, they have negative actions, and they have behaviors that are happening in their lives now that can actually be tracked back to an earlier memory. And a lot of times it's relating to things like I mentioned a little earlier, emotional trauma or unmet needs or some type of sexual, physical, emotional abuse, some type of abandonment or kidnapping or divorce, parents, right? Sometimes our parents get divorced and we don't realize it, but we carry that burden on our back because we almost feel like we're the cause of the divorce. Every time I speak to a child of divorced parents, they think that the parents got divorced because of them, or they end up feeling like they're not worthy or worthy because they feel like they couldn't keep their parents together. We don't realize how we really screw our kids up, and our parents definitely didn't realize how much they screwed some of us up. Okay, and then we have parents with addiction, as I talked about before. And again, it's really because they have their own problems. Nowadays, the world is wide open with the internet and coaching and resources and self-help. We have a lot of this information at our fingertips that our parents did not have, right? And so now it's becoming a lot clearer to us, and we're learning how to parent a lot better so that our children don't grow up with some of these situations. And these limiting beliefs and these blocks cause us to wear masks, right? So I'm going to talk about my masks real briefly and my and my blind spots, because I hate to have people talk about their stuff if I'm not willing to put my stuff on the table. And I'm definitely willing to. And so this is me as a little girl, and so I found out what I've learned through my research and my study and my deep meditation and working with a coach. What I actually found out is that my blind spots had to do with attention and love and affection. I like to say I was an attention whore because I wanted so much attention, and not for the sake of attention, but what I found out is that I didn't get the attention that I needed when I was growing up. Now, some of this goes back to Freudian theories. If any of you are remember studying about Sigmund Freud in psychology, okay? And then I remember I had fear, right? And then for many of us, what I learned, just like me, for us as women, fear shows up as control. We're not afraid to really walk down the street or be in a relationship, sort of say, but what happens is that when we're in that relationship, we are controlling that relationship. We're not the woman in the relationship. We're really the man with a penis, we're the woman with a penis in our relationship, right? Or a man with a vagina, whatever one you want to identify with, but we're really trying to control the relationship and not allow the man be the man because we're afraid of being hurt, right? The other thing that I found was perfection, sorry. I wanted to be perfect. I wanted to go the furthest I could go in school and get my education and do everything just right? So all of that came from my fears. And I found out that all of these things came from a lack of nurture, right? And so I attracted men that were needy, that couldn't give me what I needed, right? Some of these men were Peter Pan mans. I call Peter Pan mama boys, is what I call them, right? They really can't give me what I need because they are so needy, right? And so they become my project, and I get stuck, and I used to get hung up on trying to fix them, right? And I did this for 17 years before I learned all about this stuff. And I got so fixated on trying to fix him because you know what it did? It gave me that dopamine high of just feeling like if I could fix him, I could make myself better, right? Then I would be worthy, right? I would be valuable. I would show that I did something right? And I found that I got triggered by a lie. So why did all of this come about for me? I'm not going to go super deep, but I can tell you that, as a child, I was molested. And I'm saying molested, but I was really raped by several of my relatives. And no one believed me as a little girl. And so that's why I get triggered when someone tells a lie, because it always sends me back to that place when no one believed me and they actually thought I was lying, right? And so a lie used to trigger me. I mean, it used to make me go off if my kids lied or someone accused me of lying. It was a huge trigger for me in my younger years because I didn't understand why did a lie trigger me. Well, what I had to realize is that it was one of the things, it was one of my blind spots, right? And I didn't understand why, but when I connected it back to my molestation and rape, I realized that I was getting triggered by a lie because people thought I was lying about my abuse. And so now every time someone thinks that I'm lying, it triggers me, right? It doesn't trigger me now, but I mean, you know, before I learned about how to manage this, how to have a breakthrough, and how to release all of this stuff, which is what I'm going to be, which is what I teach the women in my programs. But right now we're going to be focusing on how to identify. So I just want you to get that link, right? And so my mom was also very sick when I was a child, and I had to go live with relatives, right? Which is how some of this stuff happened. And so she wasn't able to give me the attention and love and affection that I needed, right? I had to give her a lot of the attention and love and affection, almost as if she was a child. And if anyone has had alcoholic parents or parents on drugs, you might have had a similar experience. So you end up kind of being the parent in the relationship and having to grow up super fast, learn things on your own, and really never get that attention and love that you need, or never really have the opportunity to be the kid and just enjoy life, right? And so how did it show up? Right? How did it show up for me? Right? It probably shows up for you in a similar manner, right? But this is my stuff. So those who might have a similar experience might be resonating a lot more with what I'm saying. If your experience was slightly different, you'll have a different experience, but it will, at the end of the day, it's going to mean the same for you. We have to identify, you know, what's blocking us for love so that we can really work it, do our inner work, and really release it. So what's often going on is what I found out is that little girl that was inside of me, she felt abandoned, right? Again, because like I said, I was molested, I was mistreated, and I ended up trying to get the love that I wanted from my mom and perhaps my dad through the type of men that I was attracting. And I just kept looking for love, as they say, in all the wrong places. Maybe the person who came up with that saying and song had the same experience, right? So you just look for love in all the wrong places. And that's what a lot of us do, right? On a subconscious level, I was trying to heal my wounds from the past by the relationships I was getting in, but I really wasn't able to heal them. It became like like insanity. I was just doing the same thing over and over again. And it really wasn't happening. I kept attracting the same type of men over and over again. And I kept repeating the same pattern over and over again. Well, life was trying to teach me that lesson until I finally woke up and started learning, right? Because deep down inside, I thought that if I can just get a man to love me, it would mean that I was lovable and worthy, right? So we all get stuck. Right? Again, we all have limited beliefs. We all have these expectations of others. We all have these emotional patterns. We all have these habits. And we all probably get triggered by others in some way, whether it's big or small, right? You have a button that people can press, right? And if you examine what that button is connected to or why you're getting triggered in that area, I guarantee you it goes to something back in your childhood. So how do you identify your blind spots? Right? It really has to do with your subconscious ego, right? In your ego, your subconscious mind and your ego automatically looks for something outside to find validation. We always want to find something on the outside to make us feel better, right? Whether we have a drink or drugs, or whether the drugs are legal or not, right? Whether it's a man, whether it's a job, so you probably believe too that if you get more money or a good man or a better job or a better house or go on more vacations or get nicer clothes or get that body you want, right? Oftentimes we feel that we'll finally be happy. But even if we do have some momentary happiness, we find that it's not for long because our subconscious mind or our ego really ends up feeling incomplete. And it clings and it holds on for dear life to our limited beliefs, right? So you have an internal tug of war and you don't even know it. All of this stuff is happening subconsciously and unconsciously. You're not even aware of it, right? And I wasn't aware of it until I really started doing research and working with a coach. And this is why you see so many people talking about get rid of your limited beliefs, right? Or to get unstuck. It's a popular saying nowadays, but this is what they're really, really talking about, right? This is the area where you really have to get unstuck, right? Because if you, and you really have to really allow yourself to live life on a conscious level to get unstuck. If you just live life in your comfort zone, as they say, and you never really, travel outside of that, you will be living life in your comfort zone forever, right? So if you live life unconsciously, you're destined to feel like something is missing, and you think that every man is the problem. Right. And the reason why is because relationships are where we hold most of our wounding. Most of us were hurt. If you start thinking about, when I start going through the steps, you'll see, when you start thinking about some of your triggers, some of the things that are showing up in relationships, you're going to find that it ties back to some other relationship in your past, usually your parents. Sometimes it's something different. Sometimes it's a bully. One of the things I didn't mention at school. Right? So it could be a lot of things. So if you haven't gotten your worksheet out yet or something to write with, this is a great time to pull it out, because I'm going to walk you through the 4 things that I want you to look at personally to identify your blind spots. So what's your ish? That's one of the first things. Excuse me. What's your ish? Right? Your ish is the thing that bothers you, right? The thing that gets you triggered by others, right? Like I said, for me, if someone used to accuse me of lying, now I'm old enough and grown enough and healed enough, where done enough inner work where someone thinks I'm lying or not being honest, it's like, I don't waste my time trying to prove myself to him. Years ago, I might have spent a lot of time trying to prove myself, right? But where do you get triggered by others? Are there areas in your life where, or do you not feel worthy, right? Or perhaps some of you lack self-love or lack confidence or trust in yourself and other people. Are you building walls around yourself? Do you find that you have a lot of masculine energy, right? And let me step back to the lack of trust and building the walls for a moment. A lot of times we say we trust people, right? But think about it. If you're feeling like you're not going to get into a relationship and open up your heart and truly love him like you've never been hurt by anyone else before, you have a lack of trust, because love is a relationship where you have to truly open yourself up to feel the full power of the relationship, right? And if you build a wall around yourself, a lot of times if you can't trust someone, you build a wall around where no one can penetrate you. No one can get you, right? People are just confused by you. They're really not sure, what's going on or who you really are. They can't really tell because you're like a deep, dark mystery to them, right? You build this wall that no man can get in. And masculine energy. If a man has told you that you act like you don't need a man, he's really telling you have a lot of masculine energy. And let me tell you a big hint, ladies, as we go through this process. If you are looking for a masculine man, you have to be a woman in your feminine, just like the yin yang kind of concept. The opposites attract. And this goes for even in homosexual relationships. Someone is a woman and someone is the man, or masculine and feminine. Okay. So if you're looking for a masculine man, unless you are looking for a Peter Pan man, a mama's boy, someone who wants you to do everything for them, right? You can be the masculine one in a relationship, but you really need to examine how you show up in the relationship. What type of energy do you bring to that relationship? Do you go into that relationship like a gangbanger ready to control and have all the power and, because you got a lot of power, success, and money? If those are the things you're interested in, you're probably not going to get a masculine man. You're going to get a man that's less masculine, a beta man. right? You won't get an alpha male, you get a beta male. And then if you probably won't be that happy, trust me, right? So are you afraid to open up your heart? Still talking about what is your ish? Do you have codependency issues? It could be because of the family you've come from. Like I said, a lot of times if you've had parents that are alcoholics or on drugs or something like that, or even a mate, you could have some codependency issues, right? Are you emotionally needy, right? Do you believe happiness comes from just being with a man? Let me give you another big clue to start finding out what your ish is. If you're familiar with Gary Chapman's Love Languages, popular book, The 5 Love Languages, I know what my love language is words of affection, right? Are you surprised given what I told you? No, falls right in line, right? So if you find out your love language, a lot of times we walk around very proud, my love language is this, and so this is how you need to love me. Let me tell you something. Your love language gives you a big clue of what your ish is and what your blind spots are and what blocks you have and what you need to work on. So a lot of times when I work with women, the first thing I want to know is what's your love language, right? And the second thing I do, or in conjunction with that, I talk about what's your ish, because that's how we determine what your blocks are so we can clear that up so that you can truly attract the love that you deserve. The next thing, so this is number 2. What mask are you wearing? And if you have your worksheet, this will be number 2 on the worksheet. What mask are you wearing? I want you, sometimes it's very hard for us to see the mask that we're wearing because we're all trying to be beautiful. We got our hair, we got our nails, we got all of this stuff, which could be symbolic of a mask, right? And so without judgment, I want you to kind of play I Spy with yourself. Be a detective within yourself. And I want you to think about the things that you think about, what are you hiding about, right? Think about your thoughts and your emotions and really go deep to discover, the behavior and actions that are holding you back, right? And you have to do this without judgment, because if you judge yourself, you're not going to do this work fully, and you're not going to really find out the truth, and you're going to continue to be in denial because you're in fear of the truth. You're in denial because you're in fear of the truth. I don't want you to have judgment, because the only way you can face your fear and stop denying is to look at yourself without judgment. So without judgment, start thinking about your thoughts. Start thinking about your emotions and discover what's there. Be honest. It's okay to be by yourself. Try to sit and meditate at least 20 to 30 minutes a day. It has tremendous health benefits, right? On top of it all, I do most of my creating when I'm just walking and meditating and just focusing on being outside in nature. I come up with some of the most beautiful programs and things for the women in my group, and they're always shocked. And I'm like, I was just walking and it just came to my head. Just meditate. You'll find that a lot of this information will come to you, but I want you to do it without judgment. Don't judge yourself, right? A lot of us have some deep, dark secrets within our past, right? Some of us have had abortions, right? That's something that never goes away. I've worked with women who've had that. That is a very difficult and challenging thing to work with if that's your ish. But understand what it is, right? And then write the limiting beliefs that's connected with that, right? And another way to find out what your limited belief or your ish is, to think about who broke your heart first, right? Think about when you're in a crowd and you start telling your poor me story, what is that poor me story is about? What is that story that you can tell to get everybody to say, oh, I feel so sorry for you, or I can't believe that, or it's like shock treatment. What is that story that you tell? That'll give you a hint of what your blind spots and your limiting beliefs and your ish and all of this stuff is, right? Because you have to identify your limiting beliefs and your ish so that you can really clear your blind spots. How does your representative show up for the world? How do you show up, right? How is your representative different from who you are and how you feel inside, right? We always talk about the guy showing up with his representative, but we do too. We put on that happy face, right? We go out there with our representatives, right? It takes 3 good months before our representatives start staying at home, right? And then starting about 4 to 6 months, we start letting it all hang out and really saying what we feel. And that's when we start getting some arguments with each other and, so on and so forth, right? So how is your representative different from who you are and how you feel inside? And then here's a really deep one. What is it that your representative don't want anyone to know? What is it that you're hiding? Sometimes we know that maybe we're lacking in some area, right? And it's because we just feel like we're not smart enough or we're not skinny enough, right? That again will give you a big hint if you feel like that. Right? So what are we doing? Do we always, do things that make us seem smart because we don't feel like we're smart enough or good enough, right? That'll start giving you an idea of the mask that you're wearing. Number 3, identify your blind spots when it comes to men. And your blind spots with men will come in the form of the type of men you're attracting. So why am I attracting the wrong type of men? Think about who you're attracting. Like I said, go back to the last 3 guys that you attract. You can go further, but at least the last 3, you should at least see a little bit of a pattern, right? Are you repeatedly attracting men who lie, cheat, hurt you, use you, or abandon you? Are you not getting all the love and affection and the commitment you deserve in your relationship? Does he want to call and come see you on his terms, or will he come and see you when you want him to come see you? If you do, there's probably a pretty balanced relationship, but if it's always one way, it's probably not, right? After having sex, whether it's the first time or, whenever, does he slowly disappear? Because he really came for it. Like I said, remember, men get into relationship for sex, right? And if you give him sex too soon, he's going to be gone real fast. So remember that. So does he say that does he constantly say to you that he has to get his life together before he will marry, commit to you, or really announce to the world that you're a couple, right? A lot of men use that excuse. I got to get my life together. I got to get my money together. I got to get my business together, right? So does he say that constantly and uses that as an excuse for the relationship not to progress? Does he continue to say that when he gets divorced, he will do this or that? So I want you to write this stuff down. So this is not, I hope you're finding some value in this. This is serious stuff, right? I want you to write it down. I want you to write it on paper. I want you to write all of this down. Your fears, the things that you've been in denial about, your how your representative is showing up, all the things. It's all on the worksheet. I want you to write it down. I want you to face it, right? A lot of times we're afraid to face our deep, darkest fears within ourselves, and it really blocks us from making the progress. And not just with money. I mean, with men, it's with money too. That's why I teach women how to do business and how to do their man, because these things block us from having the man and the money that we want. Right? And so when you start writing, right, and I don't want you to just write one sentence, I want you to journal about these things. But when you do, you're going to start feeling that these thoughts and beliefs, they're going to start evoking emotions. And I want you to pay attention to what type of thoughts and emotions. Don't be so quick to run away from your feelings. Don't be so quick to say, you're being a baby, stop crying. Let the thing flow. And if you need support, you can come see me. And then, like I said, if it's too deep, I have to be honest. I am not a psychotherapist. So if you have wounds that's deeper than a coach should be working on, I will have to always refer you to see someone that can help you in that area. And there's no shame or blame. We're so conditioned to have shame and blame and guilt. It's just so horrible. If you need help, get the help that you need. That's the only way to make progress. Who cares that you have to go get help? More people than you know are going to get help, and they're just not posting it on Facebook. That's all. So the next session, we're going to talk about how to break the cycle of dating the wrong type of man, right? Break the bad habit, right? And make better habits, better choices, and all of that. right? So that's what we're going to be doing. So I want to thank you so much for attending this session. I hope that it's provided a tremendous amount of value for you. I promise to go deep. I hope that I did. And as I mentioned, for those of you who want to go further and need some additional assistance, I do offer a free or complimentary 30-minute love breakthrough session for those who are attending this, right? But it's only for the first 5 women each day. Like I said, we had over 200 women register for this series, so I do have to be mindful of my time in supporting everyone. But anyway, here's the link. I'll put it in the email when I send the replay out. But it is my.timetrade.com/book my voice is gone, XMJW2. Or you can always email me at Camille@CamilleSheppard.com. If you have any questions, I do monitor my box, so I don't let my assistants answer all the emails. I do read and monitor what's coming through. And so now I'm going to entertain some questions. So if you have some questions, want some things answered, this is going to be a most appropriate time for that.